Now, initially, I was going to watch Wednesday based off of the teaser they gave us with her holding the piranhas in the pool with the boys. That didn't sell it to me very well. However, TikTok sold it to me when I watched Jenna Ortega as Wednesday dance about 1 million times on my feed, and it was great, that dance. After continuing to be shown it, I eventually thought, oh, I'm just gonna give this a try. This looks good enough for me. I mean, who doesn't love a little dance scene? I certainly do anyway. So that's what put me on to watching Wednesday. So who directed this? Well, Tim Burton directed the first 4 episodes. It does get less and less Tim Burton-y feeling as it goes on, as the show goes on. So James Marshall is the director of the 2 middle episodes after 4, 5, and 6, and he's been around for quite some time, and he's directed episodes here and there, like 1 episode of this, 2 episodes of that. But notably, he's directed an episode of Charmed, and an episode of The Shadowhunters and Supergirl. So that kind of makes sense to why he's doing Wednesday. And the other director is Ganja Monteiro, who directed the last 2 episodes, I believe, 7 and 8. And she has directed Panic, which was on Amazon Prime, and Brand New Cherry Flavour. So the creators of the show are Alfred Goh and Miles Miller, who are both writers for Smallville and Spider-Man 2 and the Mummy films and lots more stuff. So that kind of makes sense as to why they're doing that Wednesday. That's who's directed and wrote it. So they all fit together. So let's get into the review then. So first of all, my first thoughts was that Nevermore Academy or School wasn't original at all, just down to the fact we've seen it before multiple times, especially this year, with Monster High and School of Good and Evil, which came out this year, which have the same sort of themes, you know, good and evil. Well, I mean, in Wednesday, it's the normies and I can't remember what the other one's called, but it's like basically freaks, normies and not normies, freaks. But I did like this though, even though it's, you know, it's not original, we've seen it all before. You know, it works. It's a good trope to go with, and it's kind of cool. And it was nice that Wednesday's parents had gone there, and you know they do use that in the episode where Morticia and Gomez heavily feature. However, what I did like very much was Jenna Ortega's Trail of Wednesday. At the start, though, I felt that she was very quippy, like she would have a sarcastic or blunt line after everything anybody said. But, you know, they eventually do grow on you and they don't use it all of the time, which I was kind of glad for. I mean, I know that's Wednesday, but sometimes it didn't make sense. They would say something that was relevant to the plot and there would be a witty quip that wasn't needed. I also really enjoyed her dance, which I've seen in an interview actually that Jenna Ortega said that she was meant to choreograph that herself, but she didn't 2 days before they shot the scene. So it was literally just choreography on the top of her head from the last 2 days. I think that's what she said in an interview. So that scene was improvised, and I loved it. It was so good. I mean, that's what I've said. I came to watch Wednesday from the dance because I saw it so much on TikTok, and I really enjoyed the dance. And I thought, oh, okay, I'm gonna watch this now. So I really did. It really is good. And she used some of the flossy in her dance too, which I really enjoyed. And the ball scene, like the high school end of term dance. I really enjoyed that, especially when it's a little nod to Carrie with all the blood, falling on them all, and I thought that was really cool. But I did see it coming, not so much to the Carrie bit, but you know, they were obviously going to have that dance interrupted at some point by the normies. But getting back to Jenna Ortega's Wednesday, I thought that she was really good, really engaging as a leading character, and I really liked her. She was really likable to watch, and it made me want to continue watching the show because she was the leading character, and I think they cast Jenna very well as Wednesday. I think she was great, and I kept watching it mainly due to her, but also mainly due to the other character, which I really liked, Thing, who at times had more personality than any of the characters on screen. So I thought that was quite a good use of a hand and Thing. I think that he actually came across as a very good character, and it was so sad when he died because they brought him back, which I didn't really like. I think that if you're going to kill a character, don't bring him back. But, if he's in the second season, we'll allow it because he was one of the better parts of this TV series. He was used very effectively, it was great, and he actually had a lot of emotion for just one little hand. And jumping off of Thing, I also really enjoyed the Addams family as the family. You had Morticia and Gomez and Pugsley, and Lurch was there only briefly for any of the scenes really that the Addams family was in, but he was only driving. I don't think he actually had a line, not that he talks anyway, but yeah, he was good. But particularly Catherine Zeta-Jones as Morticia. Now, she had some stage presence, and I really enjoyed every time that she was on screen, and I really like that they gave her a lot more screen time in the small amount that the Addams Family got. It was nice to see Morticia being spotlighted alongside Wednesday, and the flashback scene was really nice to explain like the love that Gomez and Morticia share. I loved her look. I loved her costume. I really liked her. I thought she was very emotive, and I thought she played Morticia very well. Gomez, however, was a little jarring at first, which I think most people probably think, but he does grow on you, and he ends up being a bit charming and funny. After you accept that they've gone with their version of Gomez, then he'll grow on you, and when you accept that, then it's all fine to watch. I also like the incorporation of the Addams Family two cliques to open up the Dumbledore's office for the Nightshades. I thought that was very good, and I thought that was very cool. And I liked that the snaps were used every single time they had to open it. So I liked that, and I liked Wednesday when she finally did the snap and she smiled, and it was like, oh, I know what I'm about to do, and it was like snap like the Addams Family do. So I really enjoyed that, and seeing Christina Ricci do it as an ad thought that was kind of cool too. Sadly, I don't think the Addams Family got enough. I'd like to see if they do a season two. I think I'd like to see more of the family. I know it's about Wednesday, but it was nice and it worked. It felt very Addams Family when all of them were together. I also really enjoyed Joy Sunday's Bianca. Not at first, I thought she was a bit jarring at first, and I thought, oh, cliche, here we go. She's gonna be the it girl. She's gonna be the one that Jenna, that Wednesday has to go against, for popularity, or she's gonna have the boy or the etc. Those cliche narrative tropes, which they do go with. They don't lean too heavily on, which is nice to see. But actually, I thought that they were very clever with Sirens and Bianca's character, how she said that she doesn't know if she's manipulating people, even if she speaks, even with the pendant she's wearing, she still doesn't know if what she's saying is manipulating people, so she can't trust who is actually her friend or not. And I thought that was actually really clever and original, and made me think, and I actually thought, oh, and that's actually when Joy Sunday, I thought she acted well here, which won me over to her character Bianca, because at the start I thought, oh, maybe don't overact as much, and which is a choice that a lot of these actors did at the start, and as the TV show goes on, I think they all got a bit more comfortable maybe filming, and then they start to feel a bit more natural and act better. But yeah, I really enjoyed what they did for Joy Sunday's character Bianca in regards to Sirens. I really enjoyed that, and the fact that her mother came back and she had a little bit of a disagreement, and that's when they revealed that she actually manipulated her way into Nevermore school or academy by her Siren song. So she's not actually meant to be in the school anyway. So I thought that was all really good and clever, and I actually think that she fits into the little group they will eventually make very well, and I'd like to see more of that group, including Bianca, in the second season. Moving on from that, I actually really enjoyed the friendship themes that this has. At the start, Wednesday is like, I don't want any friends, I don't want anyone, I'm fine by myself. And at the end of it, she does accept those friendships that she's made, and they really try throughout the TV series to be her friend, especially Enid. I really enjoyed the little friendship group, including Musa Mustafa's Eugene, even though he was incredibly dorky and one of the other actors who overacted, tended to, at the start. But I think that because he's playing the dork, I think that kind of makes sense as to why he's kind of overacting a bit, maybe. But he fits into the group nicely, and I think that her relationship with Eugene, Wednesday's relationship with Eugene, is really nice, because they sort of balanced it, and they said in the show that Wednesday's reminded of Pugsley when she's with Eugene, so that was nice. It was like Eugene was her brother, and I actually gasped when he died, which is another character that they should have just killed off if they're going to kill someone off. I don't know why this show tended to kill people off but not kill them off. Well, they only did that to Thing and Eugene, but still, they examples of characters I think should have maybe stayed dead just to have that emotional impact better, because it's just bringing them back. I mean, everyone else who got their belly slashed open by the monster died except from Eugene. Moving on from this, I also really liked Wednesday's very slow burning friendship with Enid. I thought that was quite good, and I thought Emma Myers, Enid, I thought that she was eventually good. Again, she's one of those ones I thought that were overacting a little bit at the start, and I felt that she was very theatre and very really over dramatic on any line she said. And I know that she's meant to play an excitable character, but I think she could have toned down the excitement just to be less jarring. When you put actors up against somebody who's a bit more seasoned, like Jenna Ortega, their freshness shows, and they tend to overact. Well, their acting tends to look actory. That's not a word, but I think you know what I mean. Her acting got better, and as the show progressed, and I actually ended up liking Enid at the end because she got a bit more better with acting. It was cool when she eventually wolfed out. I did like when she eventually wolfed out, but I did think they were keeping that for the last episode. That was predictable. And then when she did wolf out, it was the last episode, and I was like, yeah, okay. But they sort of built on it, like when she went to the back of the greenhouse to meet the boy that she likes. Can't remember his name. The Medusa one. And he didn't show, and she like scratched the car up and screamed, and I thought that was good. And I was like, oh, is she gonna wolf out there? But she did, and they were just saving it for the last episode. But when she did wolf out, it's brilliant, and it was so cool. And, oh, and very Van Helsing, because it was all at night in the woods with all the lighting. It was like dark, and it was great. And she was fighting Hyde, which is the monster. But more on that in a minute. But yeah, I thought that Emma Myers was great at the end, as well as a few of the other actors. But I did enjoy her, and I'd like to see her in season 2 as well, if they bring her back, which they probably will. Oh, I also really like the fact that Wednesday did accept Enid at the end, and that they were friends, and I'm glad that she did that, because Enid was such a nice friend to her. I know they had this squabbles in the middle, but it was nice. I'm glad that Wednesday accepted Enid. Alright, so what I also really liked in this is the mystery and the ride they took us on with who is the monster, and I really enjoyed that, and it kept me very engaged whilst watching it. We also got some very good red herrings too. Gwendolyn Christine's Larissa Weems, the headmistress, her when she shapeshift from the boy who died at the beginning and shapeshift into herself. I initially thought, oh, maybe the shapeshifter shapeshifting into Weems, but no, that wasn't the case. She actually was the shapeshifter, and they used it effectively at the end of the show to trick the main villain when the main villain thought she was talking to the Hyde, but it was actually Professor Weems she was talking to. And then, sadly, spoiler alert, they killed Weems straight after this, and that was a shame because I really enjoyed her character, and it was like finally, she believed Wednesday about Wednesday's hunch about who the monster was and who was controlling the monster. So it was sad that they killed her off then. I thought she would have been so good in season 2. But Gwendolyn Christie is dead. Well, she's not. Larissa is. We also had Percy Hines White's Xavier, who was another red herring. We saw him come out of the shed and he had the scratches on his neck, and I thought, there we go. But then I was like, oh no, they wouldn't. They wouldn't reveal us the villain that easily. Surely not. And it wasn't. He was just drawing the Hyde, and then the Hyde scratched him, because that's his power, so you can draw, and then the picture comes alive. They were really throwing us off with Xavier. Wednesday realised that, oh, Xavier always pops up every single time the monster attacks. Like, he's always just suddenly conveniently there. And actually, because she said that, that's when I realised, wait, someone else is always conveniently there, and that is none other than Christina Ricci's Marilyn Thornhill. Now, this was such a great character. I loved her style. I loved her warmness that she gave off, even though that she was eventually the real villain. Spoiler, that she was the actual villain who was controlling the Hyde. But I loved her so much. I loved her boots, which they reveal in a twist later on in the show. I just loved her. I loved that they had Christina Ricci back, and I thought that, well, of course, no, it was so good, because I thought that Christina Ricci was just like this nice little botanical study teacher, which is very Professor Sprout. And as I said, when Wednesday said, oh, Xavier's always suddenly there, I just thought, why is she in every scene? Like, she's just the botanical studies teacher, like the botany teacher. So why is she in every important meeting with the headmistress, and why is she always in Wednesday's dorm room trying to be her counsellor? Because Wednesday had a counsellor who was a brilliant actress. Just as a side note, love that actress so much. So they used that, and that was good. And the reason they mentioned the red boots is because Eugene saw red boots when they blew up, when the person in red boots blew up the lair, and that's when Wednesday twigs that Marilyn is actually the villain who is controlling the Hyde. But as for the Hyde, I had absolutely no clue who the Hyde was until they revealed it to be, spoiler, Tyler. And then I was like, oh. Because I was like, oh, okay. I mean, he sort of did look like the monster a bit, but so did Xavier. He also looked a bit bug-eyed like the monster. Who's from The Gifted, by the way. So if you haven't seen that show, check that out. That's quite good. I enjoyed it. If you like X-Men, go watch that show. But anyway, loved the mystery. I loved all the twists and turns, and I loved that when we found out that there was a villain, we didn't know who the villain was, and the show took us on all this journey to get to the villain. But yeah, Tyler, Hunter Doohan's Tyler, being the villain, being the monster, because his mother was a Hyde, and the sheriff knew, and then the sheriff was kind of covering up, I suppose. But I thought that was great. Although I did think that if the sheriff knew that his wife was a Hyde, his former one, because she's dead, was a Hyde, why did he not keep a closer eye on Tyler? Why did he keep allowing Tyler to go off in the forest of Wednesday? Especially when he knew that Wednesday was involved in the case and trying to track down the monster to kill it. But overall, I thought this was a really good show. I really hope they make a season 2. I would definitely watch it again. In fact, I already have started watching it again because I like it that much, and I hope we get another great choreography dance scene if they do a season 2. Bring on the next dance scene with Jenna Ortega going viral on TikTok again. So yeah, that's my review. If you guys watched it, wonder what you thought of it. I really enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.